This is She Moved Through the Fair. And if you look up the lyrics of that song, you'll kind of see why I always play that in honor of my late wife. So, thank you all so much.
Yeah, that's nice.
Thank you all for coming out. I'm going to, well, you see the Om symbol, and we've probably all seen in movies or TV shows, it's kind of a stereotype, but anytime there's a supposed portrayal of an Indian guru, they're going to be sitting up there, and what are they going to be doing? They're going to be going, Om, which, you know, that's our Western society to use anything as fodder for whatever purpose. But anyway, that is the Hindu sacred sound. Now Hindu, I guess if you read up or you encounter scholarly writings, you'll probably see the term Vedic religion, V-E-D-I-C. And you will see that more in scholarly works than the phrase Hindu. Not that Hindu is politically incorrect, that's not really the case, but most scholars more properly say it's the Vedic religion, because there were the Vedas, V-E-D-A-S, are these ancient writings that the Upanishads are part of, and they're considered maybe the oldest sacred scriptures there are. I'm going to be particularly focusing, there's an amazing Upanishad called the Mandukya Upanishad. I'm going to spell that, M-A-N-D-U-K-Y-A. It was written around, from what scholars can tell, composed 400 to 200 BC, before Christ, or BCE, before the Common Era. I'm going to read the opening section, the opening paragraph of this amazing, very short sacred writing. It's the shortest of the Upanishads, and it's probably inspired more commentaries than any of the other sacred writings of ancient India. And this is from a translation, one of many translations. The syllable Om, which is the imperishable Brahman. Now Brahman, B-R-A-H-M-A-N. Brahman is more than God. Brahman in the Vedic religion is all of existence. Yes, it's God, but not in the sense that we in the Western world think of God. Brahman is the all. The syllable Om, which is the imperishable Brahman, is the universe. Whatsoever has existed, whatsoever exists, whatsoever shall exist hereafter is Om. And whatsoever transcends past, present, and future, that also is Om. All this that we see without everything is Brahman. This self that is within us is Brahman. That's a very key text in Indian philosophy, because basically it is saying that we are one with the universe. You know, that cliche. You'll probably see that in a lot of Indian gurus and those stupid TV shows where, oh, we are one with the universe. It's a sacred concept. It means that we are not separate egos apart from God, the world, the animal kingdom, the plants. We are a part of the all. I'm going to read from a book by Robert Gass, G-A-S-S. Now we all remember our fifth grade physics and all that. And this is from his book, Channing, Discovering Spirit in Sound. Most objects, from subatomic particles to planets, have one or more frequencies in which they will naturally vibrate. When a sound wave strikes an object, if there is a match between the frequency of the wave and the frequencies inherent in the object begins to vibrate. The effect of this matching of frequencies is called resonance. Gass goes on to say, the understanding that sound can shape matter is far from new. The creation myths of almost every culture show sound as the mechanism by which spirit gives birth to the physical world. In Egyptian lore, the original god, Khepri, created first himself and then brought the world into being by calling out his own name. Plato taught that the world soul, the cosmos, was created according to musical intervals and proportions, while the Greek god Orpheus brought forth through his honey-sweet magical singing. African, Australian, Polynesian, Tahitian, Hawaiian, and Japanese creation stories all reflect the belief that matter is formed and life begins through God's sounds and tones. Now, we've probably all grown up hearing from the Christian Bible In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God. The Word was good. Some scholars or theologians will equate that to this Hindu concept of sound and being intricately part of the cosmos. But it's not. The Hindus actually take it a step deeper. In Hindu or Vedic religion, the gods and goddesses did not create the universe using sound. Rather, and this is very important, sound was primal. Sound came first. Sound created the gods and goddesses. Sound created the universe. And to get back to that 5th grade physics, and this is what makes the Mandukya Upanishad so amazing. We pretty much know, it's basic science now, that everything, remember or maybe it's 4th grade, what is an atom? It's a nucleus, and there's electrons running around it. All matter is vibrating. All matter and energy is movement. The entire universe is vibration and movement. And yet, whoever this anonymous author was back in 400 BC, somehow they intuited that, or knew it, or had a divine revelation or something. I mean, this is long before Newton, and the Greeks were starting to, have theories on what matter was composed of. I like to quote from Mickey Hart. He used to be the drummer for the Grateful Dead, in one of his books. Yes, and he's a very profound spiritual guy. But he says in the opening to his book, Planet Drum, one of the few fundamental things we know about our universe is that everything in it is vibrating, is in motion, has a rhythm. Every molecule, every atom is dancing its own unique dance, singing its signature song. What we call sound is just a limited spectrum of pulsations our ears can hear. And there is a Indian scholar, musician, and teacher. I like what he has to say. He's comparing the Hindu cosmology to modern science. Quote, "The whole universe comes out of a single vibration. Whether we call it the Big Bang or we call it Om, it's the same thing. There was a single vibration that went forth from pure consciousness and elaborated itself so much that eventually it created the impression that there are solid things here, physical things here." And today this is accepted science. This is accepted science, that the Big Bang happened and the universe has been expanding ever since. And I go back to this anonymous resident of India back in 400 BC. Doesn't necessarily have to be a man. It could have been a woman. Who knows? We don't know who the author was. But they somehow were in tune with that before anybody else. And to me, that's just amazing. And there's one other thing about the Mandukya Upanishad that I'd like to talk about. And you can find it online. It's only like 20 paragraphs long. But many scholars and theologians say it is probably the first document that talks about states of consciousness, states of mind. Now in the Mandukya Upanishad, it says there are 4 states, and scholars who transcribe the Sanskrit, they use the word consciousness. In the transcriptions, you'll see consciousness. They talk about there being the awake state, the sleeping state, the awake state, the dreaming state, the dreamless sleep state, and then there's the 4th state, which is the consciousness of Brahman, which is actually beyond consciousness. Now again, just the fact that they were writing about states of mind and consciousness back in 400 BC. I haven't been able to find, and don't get me wrong, I'm not the I'm not putting myself up as this learned scholar. I'm just, like Julie and I were talking earlier, I'm curious, so I try and read about all this. But I have not been able to find any document earlier than that talks about consciousness. Now, this is not to knock the ancient Aramaic writings of the ancient Hebrews or other sacred traditions, but those traditions, you read their sacred writings, and I mean, there's the beautiful Song of Songs in Solomon, and there's plenty of beautiful parts in the Old Testament. But there's also all that, thou shalt not do this, thou shalt not do that. And then you go back to this anonymous person in ancient India, and they're thinking about how they're thinking. And not that they have any answers to it, but just the fact that that's 2,400 years ago, somebody was thinking about how we think, about how our place is in the universe. So that's the two takeaways I wanted to say about the Upanishads and Om. One is that sound is sacred, and I don't consider myself Hindu or a follower of the Vedic religion, but as a musician, not just music is sacred, but sound is sacred. And two, just contemplate that 2,400 years ago, somebody was contemplating their own mind instead of just what is the right moral way to proceed in the world. So, thank you. I'm going to play, I'm going to perform, it's not a classical Indian raga, it's my version of a raga. The most venerated raga in Indian music is called Bhairavi. And I don't play raga, I'm just influenced by it. There's certain rules and textures and ways that you play raga. But I'm Joe White guy who was born in America and raised in rock and roll. So the rock and roll is still in my soul. I love Ravi Shankar, but really George Harrison of the Beatles is more my musical hero. You may know that the Beatles used sitar in a number of songs, and they're all in my repertoire, but I'm not going to play George. I'm going to play, I call it Into the Arms of Shiva. Thank you all for coming out. Assume people know who Shiva is, but there's no reason for you to know, but he's one of the Hindu gods. For me, the most favorite image of Shiva is called Shiva Nataraja, and it's Shiva with 4 arms, and he's kind of dancing, and there's that arc around him, and that's full of all kinds of sacred symbology. Maybe that'll be another talk about Shiva.
Perfect. Come back in the fall.
Yes, I would welcome that. All right, I'm getting set up here. Now, in India, there's an instrument called a tanpura, which is basically a sitar without the frets. So when the sitar player is playing, somebody will play the tanpura and just strum it. And this is my tanpura player in a box. So that's not me doing that sound. And I actually got that from India. It used to be, from what I've read, 10, 15 years ago, any kind of electronic toys, boo. It's a strong taboo, but from what I've read, these days, even in India, they will use electronic tanpura, and here is my... This is my tabla player in a box. So, the tabla drum, you may kind of recognize the sound. It's a tabla drum. There is one tabla player in the area, and he and I are friends, but I've never had an opportunity to perform with him. So I've got my tabla player in the box. And any of you may kind of recognize that tabla sound? This is, of course, digital, but it's a good simulation. And this is into the arms of Shiva. Thank you for having me. Just so y'all can see it, it's called it's a tongue drum. Is the type of instrument. The notes are cut out of. This one's made out of a propane tank, and doesn't have to be, but a lot of them are. This particular brand is called a Moyo drum, and so the notes that are cut out of it are tongue shaped. So this is the Moyo drum. That's a little bit of Moyo drop.